Hello, and it is for people listening to this in the US, it is Labor Day weekend. It is September the 2nd, and I think it's episode 44. If I was Scott Galloway, I'd be like, go, go, go! And if you don't know who Scott Galloway is, then that has just completely crashed over, but never mind. Oh my God, so much is going on, and I'm really, really energized. Yesterday, to be fair, I was energized and exhausted. But like it's all good, and I finally feel like I'm getting into rhythm. I've got momentum, I've got direction, I know what I'm doing, and I'm heading towards it. And like, frankly, at this point, I don't even care if it works or not. It's just so nice to feel like I'm moving. And when people ask me the question, oh, how can I help you? What do I need help with? I've actually got an answer. I'm like, oh, well, I really want to talk to founders of marketplaces. I really want to talk to people who have venue space or might be interested in hosting. Like, those are the really three things that I'm sort of struggling with right now. But struggling sounds negative. Just maybe like curious about and looking for would be a better way of putting it. So that just feels great. And I think in part too, because, I had that push, and I mentioned it before, there was the potential for doing some collab in California. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, I know it isn't going to happen, but it doesn't matter. Like, that was the push that I needed to really pull the trigger and start going. And so, this week there's been like so much like chat back and forth with my developer who's building in Bubble. I've just got off a call with her. And like, we were talking about, how do we want to handle the payment flow? How do you want to handle people signing up as hosts? Where do we present them the Stripe sign up piece? Because all of our payments are going to be handled with Stripe. And it feels really good. I mean, I sort of forgot, it's been a long time since I've gone through a website development process. I mean, I've done a lot in my time, but like not recently. I guess that's the whole, you go from startup to growth. Like, once you're growing, you don't have to worry so much about building a website from scratch. Well, I haven't done that for a while, and so actually I've sort of forgotten a little bit about it, but I've also forgotten how much I really like it. So that's good. She's been great. She's been trying to like work with all my whims, and then I realized I was just over engineering things because I've got this fear of holding on to people's money. Like, I don't want to be responsible for other people's money, but I think I'm just going to have to be. And so I guess the use case is, let's just use Airbnb because everybody knows Airbnb. We've been talking about this payment flow process. And if you go to book something on Airbnb, you request to book, and most often the host then gets to choose whether they accept your booking or not. And I think what happens in the back end, I don't know this for certain, but I've got to think it does, is that Airbnb will then put a hold on a certain amount on your credit card, and it only gets charged once the host accepts your booking. And then the host gets paid after the booking, like after you've stayed. But I didn't want to be responsible for that money. And so I was like, oh, is there a way that we can like put hold on and like only collect the money once the event's taken place? Like, that isn't really possible. So then she was like, oh, well, what we could do is we can get their credit card details and only charge it once the event's taken place. But I'm like, oh, but then how do we know there's any money on the credit card? And who would be liable then? Like, because the host will have, in effect, delivered, they'd have done the event, and then they could have ended up with a free event because there's no money on the credit card and they've just walked away. And then we'd be liable for it. And I don't really want that. So I think we're just going to have to accept, and by we, I mean me, that it is part and parcel. You hold the money in escrow and then you hand it out afterwards. But this is one of the reasons why I want to talk to founders who build marketplaces, especially marketplaces with delayed payments, so that I can understand how they've set it up and what it is they're doing. And I had a quick back and forth with somebody on the trends community this week And he was like, yeah, you can completely do it. And I'm hoping that maybe we can have a bit more of a conversation. And I also found out about this other marketplace called Nurses Airbnb, which I think is all about trying to support or make it easier for nurses, especially traveling nurses, to find accommodation when they're out and about, which sounds, I can see that doing really, really well. So hopefully get to speak to them. And yeah, who knows, like a million others. Oh, there was a guy who's created, I met him at the happy hour. We'll segue to that in a second. I think it's called Vanly.app. And basically it's a way of renting out your drive or garage or I guess parking space somewhere. And we had a back and forth. We're going to grab coffee or something next week, I think, because he seemed like a really good guy. And talk about, how he set things up. It's a really nice looking website, actually. So we'll see. So lots of things going on, and I feel really good and energized. But just to complete the sort of payment process, Stripe conversation, I have to say, in effect, now I have a Stripe account, which is huge. That's a milestone in itself. I was pleased with that. I was able to apply and be accepted for Stripe credits through one of the communities that I belong to. So that was a big plus for being part of startups.com. So I used their promo there. But it's definitely worth, and I'm sure you are all members of different communities and you get different perks and things. Definitely look at the different ones that you get, because one of the communities I had was offering one amount for Stripe, another one was offering something else. Obviously go for the one that has the highest take. That will definitely make it easier. At this point, I'm using a mixture of, I get benefits on startup.com, through the YC Startup School, through Founders Card, through, there are a couple of others too, I can't remember, but those are like the main ones. So definitely make sure that you look at and use those, because it massively benefits you. Day One has some. So that was really good, being able to be accepted for that. And then I also learned that you don't have to apply those credits straight away. Like a lot of instances, like as soon as you sign up, like that's it, use it or lose it type thing. But they said, no, you can choose when to use it, and then they're valid for 12 months, which means that as I'm starting to get traction, fingers crossed, I don't have to start the clock, I don't think, until something meaningful is coming through. So that would be good. But every interaction I've had with them, their customer service has been amazing. Like even this morning, like as part of this whole payment flow thing, I was chatting to them. They say, you can contact us with email, with chat, with, call, whatever. And they say, the current wait time is this. And it was like 3 minutes. And so while I was getting ready, I was just chatting them, and they came back to me so quickly. It was not somebody who didn't know what they were doing. It wasn't a robot. They genuinely, you could tell straight away that they knew what they were talking about. And oh my God, I was so impressed. So I didn't mean to just go off on this whole diatribe about Stripe, but like already I've been using them for like 3 days, and I'm not even properly making payments yet. Oh, sorry. And already I'm super impressed and an advocate. So we shall see as things go. But right now I'm very happy. So moving on to happy hour stuff. So we had this happy hour on Wednesday at Selena again. This time we were on the roof though, and it was such a lovely evening. And I was really worried about sign-ups, because obviously I've been charging for the happy hours. I didn't know how it's going to go. This one was harder because this one, like Startup School had ended. And so before I was sort of talking about what I was doing with the Startup School people, and I'd made connections and stuff, but like they'd shut down, and I can understand why, like the WhatsApp group and Slack group. So now it's just people who are part of my community. And so now it's like, okay, are you really going to keep coming back? And, and using the Meetup and Eventbrite algorithm. And it's been interesting, because I think Meetup, they may have changed their algorithm or something, because whereas before I was getting loads and loads of signups through Meetup, now I'm hardly getting any. Like the growth of the Meetup group has significantly slowed. And I don't know why. I don't know if they've changed something, if I've done something that's impacted it. I wondered if it was to do with putting up a load of events that didn't get a huge sign-up rate. And that was for like the co-working, like the informal co-working sessions where I'd put them up, and it would be like, 2 or 3 people, maybe 4, 5, 6, but nothing in comparison to the numbers that I would get for the happy hour. And I wondered if that was it. It could have been summer, could have been because I was charging, I don't know. But anyway, something's changed. But as a result, I was worried, I was nervous, and not only that people wouldn't sign up, but then they wouldn't come. And I had like tiered pricing. I had like super early bird general. I kept ticket sales on this time I kept ticket sales on right until the end of the event, because people were rocking up last time and they hadn't paid, and then I had to go and try and manually do it, whereas this time they could do that. And right at the very last minute, I would say the last 24, 36 hours, I had so many sign-ups. Probably 50% of the people who signed up did so in that last period. And I think in total we had about 70 people sign up, and they were all paying. Like I did give out a few promo codes for people who've already been, with me from the very, very beginning, like the early advocates, people who, couldn't pay for whatever reason, and I thought they would get value out of it. But yeah, let's say 95% of people were paying, which was great. And especially nice because like I had this tiered pricing and people were still signing up at $20. I was like, oh my God, this is pretty amazing. So yeah, so now I'm doing another one. I hadn't meant to do it quite so quickly, but I'm doing another one next week, and it's because after that I'm away I'm away out of town I fly the night of the 14th, and then I'm back the 30th. So I'm definitely going to try it. That's a long time to not podcast, so I'm definitely going to try and keep going with the podcast and see how things go while I'm away. But it was really good. And so of those sort of 70 people or so, I think 50 turned up. So that was actually quite a high attendance rate, because normally I expect about 50% for the paid events that I do, and that was high. So I was pleased with that. And if it's an unpaid event, just FYI, in case you care, it's probably about a third. So two thirds no show, 1/3 turn up. But yeah, and also I think if you are running events, it's really important to be able to collect payments and registrations at the door, because people just turned up and they hadn't done anything. And in part, I think that's because Meetup is so clunky and it's not immediately apparent, especially when you're looking at it on your phone, that you have to pay or that you have to register at all. I think they see it and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds good, I'm going to rock up. And then you're like, I don't know who you are, you're not on my list. And then you have to get them to do it. But anyway, that was great. And had some great conversations. People seemed to really enjoy it. Again, people from literally all over the world. And I even had this one guy who was there who was, and this is going to be another segue, but he was there. He just finished Antler's program, like 6 weeks residency, whatever you call it. And Selena is actually only like maybe not even a 10-minute walk from Antler's New York office. And so this guy was there and we were talking to him and everything. And I didn't know this at the time, but like he'd messaged and he was like, hey, I'm at this event, you guys should come. And so one of the team came, and I think he had a great time. He was talking to lots of different people. So that was really good. And that was actually a really good reminder too, to get back in touch, because I was like, oh, hey, I did an event with you guys and we should circle back and see if there's something else we could do. So fingers crossed. But yeah, so it was great to meet them and have those conversations. And we even had somebody before it, being curious about sponsorships and say, talk to me about this. How can we work together? So I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm starting to get traction and people are starting to notice. So again, I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. And frankly, I'm not even chasing that type of sponsorship and chasing money. It needs to be right. And it doesn't mean I'm just going to give stuff away for free, but it's not about just taking money and pushing things. Like, it has to genuinely add value to people, because I hate it when there's like really icky connections and collaborations. Like, as a user, I hate it, and so I'm sure other people hate it too. And I don't want people to call into question my motivations and sincerity around advice that I'm giving and things. So we shall see. But anyway, that's that. So overall, the happy hour was great, and I'll post a link to photos and videos. And part of the reason why I have these is because some very, very kind attendees did them for me. And like one guy, he got there early. He was obviously excited to be there, make sure he could find it, because he said to me, he was like, sometimes you turn up and you don't know where you're going. And yes, Selena can be a little bit like that. And then he did such a lovely little video of it. And so I posted that on LinkedIn. And then another girl, like I hadn't even asked her, and she took photos and little videos and mini clips and stuff. So I'm putting that, and that's inspired me. So now we're going to have an Instagram account. I've just looked down and see I've been talking for like 15 minutes and like I'm still only halfway through. I think that just speaks to like how much has been going on this week, and how excited I am by all of this. But yeah, so she did that. So shout out to Trasef and Sophia for doing those completely like off their backs. It was so lovely to do it, and it meant a lot. So that was great. But then the other piece about going back to Antler, it's like it gave me the jolt that I needed to apply. So I've just applied. They've actually changed the application process now. I don't know what's next, but basically before, when I looked at applying, it was quite involved from the get-go, and I think you had to fill in, like, give them video or give them quite a lot of information. And I guess that was almost like as a screener. Whereas this time it's a simpler process, and then you have a call. And so they've just said, oh, thank you so much. Like, we'd like to speak to you. And now I'm scheduling a call for next week. And so I don't know what happens after that. If they're like, oh yeah, this seems great, now fill in some more information, or what. So I shall keep you posted. But yeah, so that's that. And then I'm also speaking on a panel next week too for Durham University, where I did my undergrad in the UK, and that's all on entrepreneurship. So if anybody's in New York and is curious about, just the entrepreneurial scene, I'm obviously going to be speaking about it from, sort of a corporate convert perspective, as an early founder, as a community builder. Then there's a guy who's talking about it from as an investor, as a VC, and then there's another girl who I haven't met yet, but I think she's talking about it from an international perspective, because she's worked all over the world and for the UN. So that should be good. So I'll post a link to that as well. And if anybody wants to come, you can come, and there are free snacks and drinks too. So that's always nice. So all in all, it's been a really great week, and I'm just going to end it with the one of the other reasons why I'm so pleased about having this direction is when somebody says, how can I help you, I know what to say. And so, like I said at the very beginning, talking to people about marketplaces and stuff, but it also means it makes it easier to spot opportunities and to know when you can raise your hand more confidently. And so I was on Twitter yesterday, and I don't even go on Twitter very much, but I was on Twitter because I was posting some pictures from the event. And then I saw a thread, or somebody had said, it's how can I help? Basically, ask, post here, tweet something about how we can help, and then let's see if the community can help. And so I just said, look, I'm looking to speak to people who might have a venue that I can use for some of my events. And I wasn't thinking anything would happen. And 2 people, and maybe more now because I haven't looked, message, yeah, let's chat. One person was in Austin, so who knows, maybe we'll end up expanding the knowledge shop to Austin. And then the other one, I think, is like in upstate New York or something. And even if the locations don't work quite now, I'm just proud of the fact that I raised my hand, and then excited by the fact that people responded, because they don't know me from Adam. Like, they haven't got a clue who I am. But like, there was enough there for them to go, yeah, I'll chat. So things are looking good. And I'm surrounded by great people. I had a lovely lunch with another founder this week. And yeah, I'm going into a long weekend with my lovely husband. So on that note, Thank you, lovely husband, for continuing all your support. And I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend. I shall see you all very, very soon.